Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of SQUAWK 876 where we bring the lives of aviation professionals to your screen. And today we will be interviewing an air traffic controller, Mr. Sherrick.
Cooper.
Sherrick Cooper, alright, Mr. Sherrick Cooper. We will be learning more about his life as an ATC and what it's all about. Mr. Cooper, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Great.
Alright, thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. So I'll get to my first question. When did you know that you wanted to be in aviation?
Well, good question. Pretty much when I was in maybe 9th grade high school.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to be a pilot, of course, just like a lot of young persons. The pilot lifestyle does look appealing to most persons. So I was interested at first. The only issue there was, funding to do flight school. It was actually a family friend of my mom that which is actually an air traffic controller, and told me, I could do that if I'm interested. So I started researching, and I realized it was something that I would like. So, and it was free. So, the authority, the JCA, they hire you, and they pretty much pay you, train you while paying you, and then if you make it, you become an ATC. So pretty much from then, I started doing a lot of research, and applied several times. Eventually I did get in, and the rest is history.
All right, so which high school did you go to?
Meadowbrook High.
Okay, so I want to ask you, what did you study? What was, your favorite subject in high school? And you said you knew from about 9th grade that this is what you wanted to do. So who were you in high school? What subjects did you do?
Right. So
stuff like that.
even at that time, I didn't really give up the dream of being a pilot yet. So I centered my subjects around being a pilot. So I did, the geography, the math, the physics. I did Spanish as well, and so those are the subjects I focused on in CXC. And well, I did like math, I did like geography, I did like physics. I think maybe math was my favorite. I don't know. I don't really think about it like that.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right, and you went to the University of the West Indies. What did you study there?
Right. So as I said, I still didn't give up the dream. I really didn't want to go to the university, to be honest. I wanted to go to some flight school. So
trust me, a lot of people, that's the first thought that came into their minds.
Yeah. So, and that still wasn't feasible. So I said, you know what? I spoke to one of my high school teachers, Mr. Daly, and he said, you can do a degree in geography, and if aviation doesn't work out, I can do something in that field. I used to do GIS, Geographical Information System.
Okay.
Use a software to make maps and stuff like that. So I actually like that.
I'm actually doing that right now.
Yeah. So, and I did a stint at MGI. So I said, you know what?
Really?
I did, yeah.
I'm an intern at MGI right now.
Really? That's cool.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Right.
One of my best grades out of UE was my A+ in GIS, the GIS course. So I say, you know what? If that doesn't work out, I do like making maps. I would like to say I was fairly decent at it, so I try at that. So I did my degree in geo, BA in geography at UE.
All right. So you had that dream from 9th grade and you held on to it. So it was no surprise when you transitioned into being an ATC. But you said you applied multiple times until you were able to get in. So what was that training process like? In fact, what was the interview like? Because I know you have an interview process.
Right, so just to go back a little bit. So after UE, when I graduated from UE, did apply. I applied to CAA even from high school. But then I found out that they needed a first degree as well.
Okay.
Well, luckily I did one. So yeah, so I was working with a security company before, maybe about 4 years, until eventually the recruiting came around again. And funny enough, this was like destiny, because I kept meeting people from JCAA, kept giving me tips on how to apply. what to say in the interview and stuff like that. You know, so when I did get the call, it was a series of interviews and psychometric evaluations and all of that. So the interview, I think I was actually very well prepared for the interview, to be honest, between getting coaching from persons, including an ATC and looking online on stuff. I went into the interview I was very knowledgeable about the stuff, about ATC, and they were impressed. And then after that, there was a psychometric test and another test, you know, to test how good you are under pressure, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You know, yeah, and to see if you're crazy, you know, or not.
Well, that's something that's good to know, because you know, you're in the aviation industry, which is highly specialized, and it can get really drastic if someone decides to do something wrong.
Right.
So it's good to test, you know, all elements to make sure that you're okay.
There was actually a written test. How could I forget that? So there was a written test. They asked you a bunch of geographic questions, physics questions, math questions, some stuff like I hadn't done for like 6 years. I remember they asked a question like, where is Panama in relation to Jamaica or something like that, or where is Japan in relation to China and stuff like that. And I remember after doing that test, I avoided world maps for as long as I could. And everywhere I went, there was just pictures of the world and where countries are, and I was like, oh my God, I hope I got this right, you know. There was even a test, I remember, they sent you into this room and you had to find a box, a red box. And I went into the room thinking, oh, this is a trick question. They want to see if I'm determined. I'm saying there's no box in here. So I'm just going to walk around and just move some things, look under some things, and just look like, you know, I'm interested. And then lo and behold, I actually found the box. I'm just like, oh, crap, there's a box in here, you know. Yeah, I remember that. And there was a part where you sit.
No, I'm wondering, why would they want you to find a red box though?
I don't remember what the rationale was behind that, but I know a lot of it are the questions and the procedures, as I said before, to see if you're really cut out for the pressure. So there's another test where you're sitting in a room with about 3 or 4 persons just throwing questions at you, random questions. Where were you born? What color is your underwear? When was the last time you flew? And I just see at one point, I think they asked something about an airline, and I said Air Jamaica. When I said Air Jamaica, I was like, well, crap,
wait,
there's no Air Jamaica anymore. But then again, I didn't let that deter me. I just continued. As I said, they just want to see if you're. They don't care about the answers. They just want to see if you can focus. Because in the job, of course, you're doing multiple things at once. So you're talking to airplanes, you're talking to people on the phone, you're talking to the person beside you. So you have to be able to differentiate everything and handle everything. So they wanted to see if you could handle that stress. And to be honest, where I was working before in the security industry, it was a very stressful environment as well, and it kind of helped me to be able
to. It helped you to go through that process.
Right. So after that, so you want to go into the actual training as well?
Well, you could go into the training, and then, you know, when you realize you got the job.
Okay. Well, I mean, when I got the job, I knew I got the job because I knew I wasn't going to mess this up.
Okay.
So when I got in, I was just like, well, this is it. There's just know how to make the best of it. So after you do that, and you know, it's hundreds of people, and then you get the email and the call to say, boy, you know, they selected you, and you know, you're going to go through a series of classroom training, simulator training, and then on-the-job training. And then I'm happy because I'm like, yes, I made it in life now. I'm going to be rich. I mean, there was this thing that ATCs make money, but anyway, I won't get into that. Yeah,
anyway, we can't go around that.
Yeah, we go around that one. So, but not so much the money. I was just happy that I'll be able to do something that, you know, I would enjoy. You know, being in aviation, getting to see planes, talk to pilots and stuff. Because before that, I did get a chance as well to. I went to the Kingston Center and I visited the tower as well. As I said before, because of the family friend, I got an opportunity to see what it was like. And I was like, yeah, I really want to do this. So the classroom training and simulator training, which is essentially in one, it was done at the Civil Aviation Training Institute, which is at the headquarters.
Okay.
So it was a 9 to 5 kind of thing. You go to school. You're literally like back in university or even high school.
Okay.
There's a timetable There's a course schedule, outline everything. You have lectures, you have exams. Pretty much, it was a whole lot of paperwork, as you can imagine. A whole lot of studying. There was a test once a week. Every Monday morning there was an exam. So at that point in your life, you kind of have to give up the social life. Unless you're some kind of crazy person that can juggle both. But with the amount of studying that you had to do, you had to kind of give up. But I'm not a party person, but you have to give up
something.
Going out or you know, the time spent on the phone with people, you know, that kind of thing. So there's a whole lot of information. Stuff about airplanes, stuff about weather, stuff about ATCs, airports, runway, everything you can think of. And then of course you had the simulator part where, you know, it's not real, but you're actually doing the controlling. And you're assessed on your controlling based on the simulator.
Okay.
And then after that, and it was hard. You were only allowed to fail once. I think if you failed twice, you'd been kicked out. So there was that pressure.
They make sure that what they're producing, the quality of ATCs that they're producing, it remains high.
Yeah, and the principal would always remind us that how the course was structured was also to ensure that you can manage the pressure. Because you imagine doing 5-6 classes a day, and then you're going to be tested on all these classes come Monday morning, and you don't know what's coming. So each class had a handout you have to go through, and you have to remember everything verbatim. You cannot
can't paraphrase
anything.
Okay, cool.
Right. So after that, all right. So there's the simulator training. The hardest part about the simulator training for me was so of course, you know, we have radar and non-radar. Even though we are radar now in Jamaica, we still have to learn non-radar.
Okay.
In the event of, you know, radar failure or whatever. But so the hardest part for me was the non-radar, because you have to have a picture in your head of where the airplanes are. And I mean, if you don't have that spatial awareness or that geographical knowledge of your own country, which I did have, to be honest, it can be challenging. But the whole idea of knowing that, okay, this plane is here, that plane is there, they are doing this, they are doing that, you're both trying to get them into the airport, but you don't know where they are. It was challenging, but I mean, after a while, you did eventually get it, but that was probably the hardest part.
Okay. And
then we did do the radar simulator course as well, which was fine. That was, to me, that was easy. And I enjoyed that part. And then moved on, got selected. Well, I chose to go to NMIA Tower, family reasons. I know, everybody wants to go to Mobile, you know, it's much more airplanes and stuff, but then I had to sacrifice that because family reasons. So I stayed in NMIA. Started my underdub training with somebody who I actually trained GIS before. So we had a good relationship, and that went pretty well. I was always eager, you know, I was always, not to say ahead of the game, but I always tried to be ahead of the game. I always put in extra effort, you know, trying to get a little bit more knowledge, always trying to be prepared.
All right, so that was your experience going through training and, you know, actually being on the job, and why you picked, you know, Kingston over Mobile. So what I want to ask, you know, your best experience, your worst experience, and the weirdest experience you've had as an ATC.
I can't go into too much detail with the worst experience.
Okay.
But, you know, funny enough, recently we had some bad weather, and it's weird because the airplane left from Miami. It was like, it actually shot the approach, and they had to go around because the weather, the visibility was bad, and they were holding for maybe 10 minutes, and then they decided to go all the way back to Miami. And I was just like, that's new. I've been here quite a while. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, we see weird stuff.
You can't land, so you just go back home.
I mean, there's Montego Bay, there's other airports that you could have diverted to, but they went all the way back to Miami.
So they had well, of course, they had the fuel to go all the way back.
They went back. They all went back. That's one of the weirdest things I can think about right now. I mean, you see a lot of strange stuff. You hear a lot of strange stuff. We did a lot of trainee pilots from from JDF. So there are other times we hear stuff and we're just laughing at them because they're trying to learn phraseology and stuff. We have to be patient with them, but sometimes it's really funny. The best experience I've had, well, I've had a lot of good experiences. It's always, as any controller, you'd ask them, what makes you feel good to be a controller is when you work a busy period of traffic and everything went well and the pilots are happy and you're getting big ups on the radio and stuff like that. So you get a couple of those, so those are good. I remember even recently when we had the COVID shutdown and Caribbean Airlines, they were doing some certification exercises at Norman Manley. So you had 737s doing touch and goes,
Okay.
which we don't have often. We actually have like Diamond 40s and like Cessna 172s doing touch and go. So to see a 737 do a touch and go was kind of special for me. And it was cool. We had them, we had other traffic, and they were happy, we were happy, and we got special recognition for that.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I guess. Some of the worst experience would obviously involve, you making a mistake, which, as I say, I won't go into too much in terms of the mistake or the mistakes. You will make mistakes on the job, but you have to recover. The problem with me, because I'm such a perfectionist, I remember the first time I made a mistake on the job, I was depressed for weeks. And you don't want a controller working who is depressed or sad or second guessing themselves. So that's one of the hard parts of the job, and it's a thankless job. The managers, they don't see your hard work until you make a mistake. The pilots don't see your hard work until, oh God, that guy can't control. Look up, I'm here waiting how long? I'm orbiting for so long. What is he doing?
You always have that rift between ATCs and pilots where it's like, it's like one doesn't understand the other and the other doesn't understand the one.
Yeah, it's a fight to see who doesn't know their job.
I remember a case where, an ATC explained that they were unsure why this pilot was ignoring certain instructions or not doing something. And then when they spent time with him, actually flying with him, they realized that it's not that he wants to ignore you, but because he has to manipulate so many things at one time, he can't get the chance to do it. So, stuff like that, it's an eye-opener, and it helps one to appreciate the other.
That's exactly true.
So in a case like that now, I want to ask you, what would you tell a student or a young aviator, someone who is interested in entering this field? What advice would you give to them that you wish someone had given to you?
Well, the good thing about the era we're living in now is that information is available, right? YouTube, there's live ATC, you can listen to live traffic, live controllers working, talking to live pilots. There are blogs, there are so many things. Information is there. Go out there, read, watch YouTube, listen, read. There are persons on social media who are more than happy to talk to you.
And listen.
Reach out to people, annoy them if you have to. Trust me. A lot of us in the aviation, I won't say all, a lot of us in the aviation industry, we're on social media and we welcome the questions. I just want an opportunity to talk about my job. So reach out to people, get questions, and so for one, you will know that if this is for you, and two, if the opportunity does present itself, you can impress.
Okay.
So just the information is there. Spend a lot of time getting to know stuff about airplanes, everything is there. Airplanes, air traffic control. There are even cockpit. I used to watch flight deck videos, just watching pilots doing the thing. For years I didn't understand anything, but I just sat there watching, and eventually.
Just to see what they're doing.
Right.
So I want to ask you, have you done, gone back to your school to, speak with them or at least speak to the students and, show them the aviation industry?
Actually, I haven't, to be honest. I haven't been back to my school in that regard. But I did. Was it Quest? Somebody invited me, one of my colleagues, and I went to Quest Prep, I think it was.
Okay.
And we spoke a little bit about aviation, about ATC.
All right.
Yeah.
And the last question I'd like to ask you: you originally wanted to be a pilot, but you're an ATC now. Are you still interested in going in that direction, or are you comfortable where you are?
Well, that's a good question. I pretty much am in love with what I'm doing now, and I'd like to further my career at this point. So I'm a tower controller now. So I'd like to move up to radar
Okay.
and get all the ratings. In terms of being a pilot, you know, to be honest, for me, I'd probably want to do it now just for fun. I do like the idea of flying. I do like airplanes. But I
right
don't know
now,
if I
like
can.
over
I have
the
a family
years-
right now. I can't really. I don't know at this stage in my life I'm going to do flight training and then be
So over
overnighting
time,
in.
you have, you knew you loved that first, but then over
Yeah.
time you realize that maybe
Yeah.
this is the avenue that I want to take. However, you still haven't forgotten flying, which is pretty good. So you want to. Your hope is to.
That's for fun. If I'm going to do it, I mean the money's going to take me now to the flying. And I don't think it's worth it right now. And then, as I said before, I have a family now. I don't think I'd want to be doing those layovers and stuff like that now as an airline pilot. You know, I mean, for people who want to do that, that's great, and you know, you need people to do that. But I don't know if that's for me right now. I'd probably just maybe sign up to your school and just come on to a couple sessions. You know, and somebody told me that if I did flying, I'll probably love it so much that I'd probably do it permanently. But we'll see.
We'll see, definitely.
No, I mean, as I say, who knows? Who knows?
All right.
You know.
Mr. Sherrick Cooper, I would like to thank you for taking your time to spend with us and to show us your world, your life as an air traffic controller. And I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for spending the time with us today, learning more about the role of an ATC. Thank you very much once more. This has been SQUAWK 876.